Yes, you're listening to Faith FM, and the program is called A Light in the Dark. I'm John Weeks, and in the studio with me is Peter Watts. And it's been good to have you. Today we're doing a live program, of course, and it's June the 5th, 2025, and we're operating from Melbourne and Ringwood, in fact. So it's been wonderful to come back each week, and now I've got Peter here with me, and Peter's got an amazing topic to talk about. But before we do get onto that topic, love to hear what, Peter, what you've been doing just recently in the last 4 weeks.
Where in the world has Peter Watts been? Good evening. Well, good morning, listeners.
See?
See, I don't even know where I am, John.
Yep.
Good morning, listeners. It's great to be back in the studio, in the Faith FM studio with A Light in the Dark. Thank you, John, for doing a sterling job in sitting in my place in the past few weeks. I have 3 weekends I was away. I was in Samoa.
Samoa?
I had never been to Samoa before. I was just talking to the wonderful Adele downstairs, who is from that part of the world.
Yeah, lovely lady.
And so she was tuning in because it was live streamed. But we were running an outreach campaign there. We were running a series of meetings called Searching for Certainty. And if people are interested in any of those topics, we actually recorded these for Faith FM a little while back. And if you go to the Faith FM app or the website and you look at the programs there, the selection of programs, one of them is called Searching for Certainty.
Yep.
And we did a whole range of topics there, one of which actually I'll refer to later today in today's program, so people might want to go and check that out. But I was in Samoa and I was doing some training meetings too with ministers out there, helping them prepare to share the message, the good news, John. That's what this is all about. You can watch the news every day or check out the websites as I do. And there's a lot of bad news in the world, John. There's a lot of bad news. And we have this incredible privilege of not only knowing the good news that God has revealed through his word and through Jesus, and but then to be able to share that good news with others. It's great to share good news.
And I like the word privileged, and it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So that's what I was doing in Samoa. It was a fantastic trip. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I got back on Monday, and they're 3 hours ahead of us, John. So it's already 2 PM over there.
This is why you said good afternoon.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I was used to saying good evening and everything, over there, but it was a lovely trip. Met some wonderful people.
Yes,
godly people, committed people.
Yep.
Sharing the good news. The Bible has a verse in Isaiah where it talks about God is going to gather his people from here and there and everywhere, and it says them from the islands of the sea. And so, God has plenty of good people out there in the islands of the sea.
Indeed.
So it was a privilege for me to be out there. But, of course, always happy to come home, and great to be back in the studio today.
And hear the kookaburras. And when I come back from overseas and I hear the kookaburras or even the magpies, you know you're home.
Now you know you're home.
You know you're home.
Yeah, fair enough. So today, John, what are we going to talk about today? So much has happened in the last month and whatever, and, you take a step out of the office or out of the studio for a week, and so many things are happening. Today we want to talk about tariffs, treasure, and trust. There's been much said about the tariffs, particularly coming out of America since the appointment of Donald Trump as the 47th president, I think it is now.
That's right.
He has raised tariffs to an unprecedented rate, and then, he might then arrange to get people at the negotiating table, and I guess these tariffs are, in some respects, they're genuine, and in other respects, they're used as sort of bargaining chips.
A leverage.
A leverage, that's right. That's the word. Leverage to get people to the bargaining table and to be able to make a deal, which is what he likes to do.
It's part of his strategy, his toolkit of getting his own way.
That's right. And I think what's interesting about it, though, is the effect that's having on the markets, the effect that it's having on the stock exchange in terms of the prices and so forth, and the uncertainty inherent in all of that. There's many things we could talk about. Obviously, some folks will remember a few weeks ago, Donald Trump, the White House publishing a picture of Donald Trump dressed as the Pope.
I saw that.
And, lots of people make fake photos and mock-ups and,
with AI you can create anything.
That's right, Photoshop and whatever. But for them to put this out on the official White House feed, this is the kind of unpredictable behaviour that we've sort of come to expect, and it keeps people guessing. And then, of course, just a few days later, Rome elected their first American pope.
He did.
And
Pope Leo.
Yeah, Pope Leo.
What date, number? Pope Leo
I think it's Pope Leo. Ooh, that's a good one. 13th? I don't know. We'll find that out. But the point being that it's Pope Leo the 14th. There you go.
Yep.
The point of this, of course, is there in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, pictures these two powers, American and the papacy. Now, there we mentioned before a series that we've done previously on Faith FM called Searching for Certainty. If people go there is a episode that we recorded a couple of years ago called The USA in Bible Prophecy.
Okay.
And I would recommend people go and have a listen to that at some point, because we're sort of using that as a backdrop in many ways to look at what's happening, because that chapter in Revelation 13 really shifts the focus from the medieval church to this new power, the United States of America, and what its function will be at the end of time, how it will behave. We're going to touch on a little bit on that today and see whether these tariffs, this economic sanctions, this leverage that you've been talking about, John, that is being used to try and bargain and make the kind of deal that the US would be happy with, it's causing a lot of volatility. And does the Bible actually say anything about this? Does the Bible say anything about finance? Does it say about is there going to be an economic collapse before the end of time? We know that the Bible predicts the end of the world. We know that the Bible says that when Jesus returns in glory, that brings about the end of the world. But there are some things that are leading to that event. There are things that will take place in the world before we get to Jesus' soon return. And is this included? And, well, the answer is in brief, yes. But we want to look at some of the detail. So just talking about the Trump tariffs, he will obviously there's concern about the positioning of the US with China, as well as with some of his European allies and Russia and other major powers. And he's has been signing tariffs like there's no tomorrow. And I remember sometimes I've watched the Finance Bulletin on ABC News with Alan Kohler. And he put up a couple of interesting graphs, John, that I've got here in front of me, and the people would have seen if they would have been watching ABC News, and you can still find this, on Catch Up.
Yep.
You can still find it on, I think if you go to the ABC website is where I saw it on Catch Up. But yeah, he's talking about effective US tariffs, and he's talking about the fact that, he'll go 100% tariff or whatever, and then he might bring them down to a more, well, we might say reasonable level. But he is saying US effective tariffs, he says, probably will stabilise around 20%. That's what he's thinking.
Okay.
But when you look at this graph, I've got a graph in front of me here, John, looking at the percentage of tariffs. The last time that the tariffs were anywhere near that level was during the Great Depression.
That's in the 30s, isn't it?
No, 29 through 32.
Yep.
So he's saying that this is why markets are really challenged by this, because is this going to, increase the likelihood of a recession or a depression? And so, the tariffs have been nowhere near this level until that time. Another graph, well, we'll talk about this other graph when we come back in a minute. I think we're going to take a music break.
Yeah.
But he's put a graph up there about trade uncertainty in the markets. And we'll have a look at that, John, because we'll come back and talk about that. But keep tuned in. Tell a friend to tune in. We're going to have a music break. And
yeah. All right. We're going to hear a track by the Downing family, and the track is called Jesus Paid It All. You're listening to A Light in the Dark, and the program is on Faith FM. I'm John Weeks, and we've got Peter Watts in the studio.
and pray, find in me thine all in all. For nothing good have I, whereby thy grace to claim. I'll wash my garments white in the blood of Calvary's Lamb. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. And now complete in him my robe, his righteousness, close sheltered neath his side. I am divinely blessed. Lord, now indeed I find thy power and thine alone can change the leper's spots and melt the heart of stone. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. When on that glorious morn my ransom soul shall rise, Jesus died my soul to save, shall rend the vaulted sky. And when before the throne I stand in him complete, I will lay my trophies down, all down at Jesus' feet. Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow.
Yeah, beautiful track there from the Downing family, a track called Jesus Paid It All. We've got a text line on the program, and the text number is 0488 880 831. I'll repeat that number, 0488 831. I've got the screen right in front of me, and I'd love to get some text messages. Any questions you may want to ask about today's topic, or any feedback, or anything that you want to get off your chest, basically. So 0488 880 831. Later in the program, we're going to mention about a book offer as well. So
Cool.
Let's cover that. But in the meantime, we've got a topic that Peter's running with, and it's called Tariffs, Treasure and Trust. Peter.
All righty. So we were talking earlier about the tariffs in the US and the uncertainty they're creating. I mentioned Alan Kohler's US effective tariffs chart, where the tariffs, if they settle at 20%, will be as higher the highest level since the depression in the early 30s. Another chart he put up, this is in April, this is April 16, Wednesday, April 16, on ABC News. He put up a chart that had trade uncertainty. This is the Bloomberg Trade Policy Uncertainty Index. I didn't know there was one, John.
I'm glad you can say that on radio.
I didn't know there was one, John, but the Bloomberg Trade Policy Uncertainty Index,
Well done.
it has gone through the roof. So, trade uncertainty fluctuates a little bit. Sometimes markets crash and then they bounce back and all of those kind of things. It sort of uncertainty was up to about 4 or 5 on the scale during the pandemic when, people, and during the first Trump administration, I should say, and leading into the pandemic, of course, and there was uncertainty in the markets there. But then that settled down again. But now it's sort of gone through the roof. I mean, if it was in the first presidency, if it was up to 4 and into the pandemic, it's now up to 18, John. It's like off the scale. It's
Yes.
like it's one of those curves that spikes, and that's the level of uncertainty. And when we were talking about financial uncertainty in the markets, that's when the markets get nervous. Like, what we have in our economic system is an agreement, really, that I would say this is worth this much, and so you'll pay this much for this because we both agree that it's worth that much. Otherwise, you wouldn't pay.
There's a mutual understanding.
There is, and it's anybody in retail knows this. You can price it as high as you like, but if people aren't buying it, you need to bring the price down.
That's it.
Otherwise, you ain't going to shift it. And but also, I remember when I was living in England, we used to have banknotes. I don't know if they have it on there now, but they used to have banknotes. Written on the banknote was, "I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £20 or whatever it was." And in other words, it was a literal bank note. It was a note from the bank that said, this is what this note is worth. You know what I mean? And that's really what a bank note is. And, of course, these days we're far more likely to use digital currencies, not digital payments. I use my phone all the time to pay for stuff because my credit card's on there. And they say it's safer, John, than using just your tap on plastic because it encrypts the message every time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I haven't got it on my phone. But
Yeah, no, I didn't. And my sweet wife, bless her heart, knows a lot more than I do. And she put me onto that fact that, and the bank, actually, we went to see the bank and the bank said it's safer if you do that because every time the message is sent, it encrypts it and makes it less likely that your card details are going to get robbed.
Ooh.
So that's why I use that. But anyway, the point being that it's all based on trust, John. It's like if I show you a figure of what I've got in the bank, you have to believe that value is really there.
Yes.
And that this banknote that I'm handing you is actually worth £20 or whatever it may be. And when that confidence diminishes, then the markets start to get a bit shaky. And so in all of this, we're talking about, well, what does this have to do with spiritual things? What does this have to do with the Bible? What does it have to do with Bible prophecy in the end times? Well, the Bible does indicate there will be signs in the financial world at the end of time. We mentioned earlier Revelation 13, and again, I'm going to presuppose that this is building on something that has been covered before. So as I mentioned before, there is an episode on Faith FM in the series I did called Searching for Certainty. It's called The USA in Bible Prophecy. And if people go and have a listen to that, they'll understand some of the relationship between these two beasts that we find in Revelation 13. A beast represents a political power, John. That's what it represents in Bible prophecy. We get that from Daniel 7. We get it from Daniel 8. We see a beast in Revelation 11. We get to see a couple of beasts in Revelation 13, another one in Revelation 17. So every time you see a beast in Bible prophecy, it represents a political power, essentially, a kingdom, a political power, a nation. And in Revelation 13, you have the ancient Roman papal state system, and then you have the second beast represents the United States in Bible prophecy. And I want you to notice one of the things it says about how this second beast, who represents the United States, how it operates at the end. Revelation 13, 16 to 17, it says...
You want me to read it?
I would love you to. Sorry, John. Okay. I'm hogging the mic here.
That's okay. This is the New King James Version. And verse 16, he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
All right, thank you so much. So here, this power, whoever it is, and we believe it to be the United States, is going to cause everybody, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand. That means in their actions, or in the foreheads, that means in their beliefs or their mental acceptance, their decision-making, that no one may buy or sell except one who has that mark. In other words, there is going to be something that is imposed by this power where you will have to go along with that, and if you don't, you won't be able to buy or sell. And in a way, America has acted in this way, John, in a national sense on a number of occasions in the past. If we go back to the time of the First Gulf War, 1991, I remember in 1990, John, I was visiting a friend of mine in Minnesota in the United States. And at that time, Saddam Hussein of Iraq rolled his tanks into Kuwait and invaded that country. And there was a bit of international uproar. And the United States told him he had to get out of Kuwait. And I remember George Bush Sr., going on live television in the States. I was there at the time. Yeah, I think it was about August 1990. And George H.W. Bush, he said, we're imposing economic sanctions on Iraq. We're going to limit their ability to buy and sell with other nations. And they said, and ultimately, you've got to get out of Kuwait. Those sanctions will be imposed until you get out of Kuwait. And if you don't get out of Kuwait, eventually we'll send in the bombers, which they did in January the next year.
So you would regard that as a threat?
Absolutely a threat. Yep. Absolutely. Now, of course, the majority of the world at that time, John, would have said, well, this is right. They're defending a country that can't defend itself, Kuwait. Yep. Obviously Saddam Hussein had ulterior motives for wanting to invade the country. And so this would be a larger country standing up to an aggressor and saying, we're imposing these. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it was an illegitimate means of using that, but they have used these economic sanctions in the past. What's more is they've used them again in the war in Afghanistan after 9/11, and they used it again in the Iraq War, the second Iraq War in 2003, where there was regime change. But the point is, the US has used economic sanctions as a weapon. You cannot buy or sell unless you comply with our demands. And that's ultimately what Revelation 13 is saying, only it's being used for a different purpose at that point. And we can get into that a bit later. But it does talk about economic sanctions being a weapon that the US would use, and we can say in the past that it has been used.
Indeed. Well, we're going to have a music break shortly, but again, if you want to send us a text message, the text number is 0488 880 831. Love to hear some response from you to for what Peter's putting across on air for today's program. So if you've got a question or even a concern or something, we'd love to get those text messages coming through. So be part of the show. And the number again, 0488 880 831.
There is not enough gold in the whole world to pay the price that Jesus Jesus paid for me. There are not enough pearls in the ocean to make me turn from the one that set me free. His blood that stained Mount Calvary was to set all nations free. There is no way I could ever repay you. What a debt he paid for me. There was no one on this earth that was worthy for the blessed Lamb to have to die on Calvary. But God loved the world so dearly that He sent His Son to give His life for you and me. His blood that stained Mount Calvary was to set all nations free. There is no way I could ever repay you. What a debt he paid for me. What a debt he paid for me.
Beautiful track there. You're listening to A Light in the Dark on Faith FM. It's good to have your company. And we've got a book offer that we were going to give to you, and no obligation, by the way. And the book is Steps to Christ. And if you send us a text message and wanting this book, there's a special code you put in your text that you send to us. Now, firstly, the text line is 048888 0831. And when you send a text message wanting this particular book, Steps to Christ, you put the code ALD62, okay? And our team will get back to you on that one. Anyway, Peter, we're talking of the topic, tariffs, treasure and trust. And we're covering a lot of ground here. So
we are.
Let's hear some more from you.
We are. Well, I think people, A, they're interested in what's happening with the tariffs, but B, they're also interested in what does Bible's prophecy have to say about this. We've talked about the prophecy in Revelation 13, 16 and 17, saying that, you know, in the end, people won't be able to buy or sell unless they comply with this state endorsed policy. And we know, we know ourselves, John. I know myself. I don't carry a lot of cash around. So just to all the muggers out there, you're wasting your time. I don't carry a lot of cash. And
neither do I, actually.
I mean, if they decided to boycott me or impose sanctions on me as an individual and cut off my accounts, the cash in my pocket or the cash, under the table, under the clock in the whatever, wherever you keep it in your house,
yes.
That ain't going to last very long.
No, it's not.
It's just not going to last very long. And so it's very easy to cut people off and to control people in this way. But I want to go to, let me quote this Bill Gates quote. This was back in March 2018. He was asked about the financial crisis of 2008. You remember the global financial crisis of 2008. A lot of people lost homes. They lost money on their super. They, lost a lot of investments and so forth. And he was asked about that because it was 10-year anniversary in 2018. And billionaire Bill Gates issued a chilling warning claiming another financial crisis like the disaster in 2008 is a certainty. And I think the reason for that, John, is that the human heart has not changed. We might have introduced regulation, although many are saying that the necessary regulation hasn't been, imposed to prevent another GFC. As the human heart is selfish and greedy and ultimately will want for more. And there are too many people who want more profit, more money, regardless of the consequences of that outcome. And so at some point, there should be a challenge to the economic status quo, shall we say. But there's another passage that I wanted to turn to, and it's in Revelation 18. And essentially in Revelation 18, so this follows on Revelation 17, 18 and 19 is really about Babylon and the fall of Babylon. What is Babylon? Babylon was an ancient empire in the Old Testament, but they're now using this terminology as a kind of code word for a corrupt system that is blending religion, state, finances, all of these things that will be imposing this, I guess, on the world. And then in Revelation 18, 11 to 19, I think it is, it's talked a little about, in Revelation 18, it's talked about the fall of Babylon the Great, talks about the world mourns Babylon's fall. And then in Revelation 18 and verse 11.
Okay, I've got it here.
I'm going to get you to read some of the of this, John. I want you to read, if you read down to 15, I'll do the last bit.
Okay, 11 to 15.
Yeah.
And the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her.
That's Babylon.
Yep, for no one buys their merchandise anymore. Verse 12, merchandise of gold and silver, precious stones and pearls, fine linen, purple and silk and scarlet, every kind of citron wood, every kind of object of ivory, every kind of object of precious wood, bronze, iron and marble, and cinnamon and incense, fragrant oil, frankincense, and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat, cattle and sheep, horses and chariots, and bodies and souls of men.
Pause right there, John.
Yep.
Just pause right there. So he's gone here. So this is the fall of Babylon. So when Babylon finally falls, then all the merchants who used to buy and sell all of this stuff, they're out of business.
Oh, yeah?
They're out of business. And it goes on to mention practically every kind of stuff that they were buying and selling. Okay, this is world trade we're talking about here, and it goes on and talks about wine and oil and fine flour and wheats. That's your food as well. Cattle and sheep and horses and chariots, and then bodies and souls of men. John, this is talking about
That's another level here.
That's another level.
Yeah,
that's another level. This is talking, I believe, about the spiritual side of things, where they've been really trading on people's salvation. And that's what this power has done, where they've mingled religion with the state and the power of the king. Babylon is really an amalgamation. It's the church, it's the states, it's the kings of the earth, and it's all this financial clout that they all also have. And when that falls, all of that financial consequence comes along with it. I'm going to read a few verses.
Yes, sure.
Verse 14, it says, "The fruit that your soul longed for has gone from you, and all the things which are rich and splendid have gone from you, and you shall find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, who became rich by her, will stand at a distance for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour such great riches came to nothing. Every shipmaster, all who travel by ship, sailors, and as many as trade on the sea, stood at a distance and cried out when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What is like this great city? They threw dust on their heads and cried out, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city in which all who had ships on the sea became rich by her wealth, for in 1 hour she is made desolate." So there is a couple of things in there, John, where it's talking about those who trade. I'm focusing in on particularly verse 17, where it says, "For in 1 hour such great riches came to nothing." So this is that When people say, will there be an economic collapse at the end of time? There is.
And it's very instant.
And it's very, exactly, this is not a gradual decline. You're right there, John. In fact, it reminds me of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, where it says, when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes as labour pains upon a pregnant woman. So it's not saying gradual destruction comes. This is sudden destruction that ultimately comes. In 1 hour, a short period of time, such great riches came to nothing. And, you can imagine this as a stock market collapse.
In fact, I can see images of a stock take imagery, and everyone's going screaming and throwing papers in the air, and they're going crazy on their phone.
Yeah, buy, sell.
That's it.
And then it says, every shipmaster. Well, what's it got to do with the ships? All who travel by ship, sailors, and as many as trade on the sea.
Imports, exports.
Yeah, exactly. So, even with, you remember, John, a couple of years ago, there was the big container ship called the Evergreen that got stuck in the Suez Canal.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I've got an overhead picture of it here. And, that is a really significant shipping lane, is the Suez Canal.
Very
and when
much.
you block that for a day, and people losing millions of dollars because they've got to get their, shipping to the right destination. So that went on for days. And, we talk about shipping and handling. What we're really doing is talking about transporting stuff in terms of trade. And this is what the book of Revelation is talking about here in Revelation 18, that there is a time coming, John, where it will all come to nothing. Great riches will come to nothing. And this system that has been bent on creating luxury for itself, often the exploitation of others, will come crumbling down. And we're going to, when we move into our final segment, we've got a few minutes yet, but when we move into our final segment, we want to ask the question, well, okay, sounds a bit drastic. What on earth should I do? Should I be removing my money out of super? Should I be hiding it under the bed? What should I be building a bunker, John?
And I know some people who put all their money in their house.
Yeah.
They don't get it, but they think, what's the point of a bank?
Let's not broadcast them on here, John.
I know, but you don't get much interest. So But I know people who do that.
Yeah, and that's the problem. It's a real problem. It's a real problem. And I think, but what we want to know is, what can we do, John?
Yeah.
Like, if this is really coming, and the Bible says it's there, it's right there in Revelation 18.
That's it.
Such great riches came to nothing. It's going to happen at some point.
That's right.
So what should be my relationship with money? And we'll be talking about that in our last segment, because we want to know, how should I respond? And it's really not about being rich or poor. It's more to do with our attitude towards money. Come back to that in a minute.
Would it be, well, more so, also people who have in their own mind also security as well?
Absolutely.
You see?
Yeah,
So
we're not talking about, for the average Joe,
Yeah.
we're not talking too much about avarice and greed.
No.
We're simply talking about sustainability. We're talking about survival. We're talking about security, as you said.
That's it.
Do I have enough money to live out the years of my life without being in poverty?
Yeah.
I get that completely, because I see that around in different places. So these are legitimate concerns, John. This is not, playtime. People do have religion, and we want to address that, and we will in our last segment. We want to look at, what does the Bible tell us in regards to where we should put our trust, what our attitude towards money, and that kind of thing. One thing I want to just throw in here, some people will be familiar with the Daniel 2 image of the statue with the head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron and feet of iron and clay.
Yep.
And then God's kingdom comes and strikes that. And some have asked, does Daniel 2 predict an economic collapse? Because you go from the gold to the silver to the bronze to the iron to the feet of iron and clay, and then it's all destroyed. And I had never thought about that. Somebody asked me that last week.
I must admit, I haven't thought on that level either.
I'd have to say it's consistent with what we've been learning around in Revelation 18.
There's a certain pattern, isn't there?
There's a certain pattern. But we're going to come back and we're going to say, how should we respond to this? And we'll take another look at a Bible prophecy in James 5. But we'll do that after the break. And, we'll come back and see, what should I do? I throw away all my money or do I, Try and find some quick money-making scheme, John.
Look, it's definitely a concern,
It is.
It's definitely a concern that you hear a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that you hear during election time as well, federal elections, that sort of thing, where you put the question to the politicians about my security, my superannuation, what's going on with that? You can see what it all means. Let's hear a music break, back very shortly.
I don't need silver, and I don't need gold. I don't need the things of this world to satisfy my soul. But I need Jesus and all that He is. He's my salvation. He's why I live. He's all I need when trials come. He's all I need when there's nowhere to run. When I'm in trouble, caught in the storm, He takes care of me. He's all I need when my time comes. When I cross that river, when life here is done, He fought the battle, the victory's been won. He's all I need. Well, I don't need fortune, and I don't need fame. I don't even care if anyone down here even knows my name. Because I know Jesus, and He knows me, and that's all that matters, 'cause He is the Master, and He's my everything. He's all I need when trials come. He's all I need when there's nowhere to run. When I'm in trouble, caught in the storm, He takes care of me. He's all I need when my time comes. When I cross that river, when life here is done, He fought the battle, the victory's been won. He's all I need. He's all I need when trials come. He's all I need when there's nowhere to run. When I'm in trouble, caught in the storm, He takes care of me. He's all I need when my time comes. When I cross that river, when life here is done, He fought the battle, the victory's been won. He's all I need. He fought the battle, the victory's been won. He's all I need.
A lovely track again, once again. You're listening to Light in the Dark, Faith FM, the radio station. And our book offer, I'll mention this now. The book offer is Steps to Christ, which is for you to obtain at no obligation. It's a free offer. Don't you love that word, free?
I do.
And so you're very familiar with Steps to Christ.
Yeah. In fact, we did, there's a series on this book called The Apprenticeship we did for Faith FM. It's the best book I know, John, on discipleship.
Okay.
What does it mean to be a disciple? How do we become a disciple? How do we strengthen our relationship to Jesus? How do we take steps to Christ? And I think it's a wonderful book. It's not a long book, but it's a very enjoyable book about how to be an effective disciple for Jesus.
And there's a lot of information in that book about wisdom as well.
Yeah.
And how you endure wisdom in your life. So free offer. So if you put a text, when you send us a text message, 0488 880 831, all you have to do in your text message is type ALD 62. And our team will get back to you and tell you how we can get the book out to you.
All right. Shall we wrap this up, John?
let's wrap it up with a lot of trust.
A lot of trust. So we've been talking about tariffs, treasure, and now we're going to talk about trust. So again, just another Bible reference that tells us there will be financial corruption in the last days. This is James 5:3-4. If you'd like to read that out, John.
Yep.
This is in a last days context.
Okay, James 5:3-4. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you and will eat your flesh like fire. You have heaped up treasure in the last days. Indeed, the wages of the labourers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, cry out. And the cries of the reapers have reached the ears of the Lord of the Sabbath.
Okay, so here this is it says you've heaped up treasure in the last days. This is talking about at the end of time. He says you've kept back the wages of people. This is talking about exploitation, people getting rich by exploiting the poor. And people are crying out about this fraud, and it's saying God has heard their prayers, and there will ultimately be accountability on that. But so what should we do? We all need money, John. We all need money to survive down here. And, if people have got a lot of money, God has lots of people in the Bible who had lots of money. He's got lots of people in the Bible who had very little money. So money is not evil. The Bible talks about money being the love of money being the root of all evil. And it's very important to get that distinction. Some people think that money is the root of all evil, but it's actually the love of money that is the root of all evil. And I want to read 1 Timothy 6:17-19, John, if you've got that.
Okay.
17-19.
1 Timothy?
It's 1 Timothy 6:17-19, because I think there's some good counsel here for us.
Okay, let me just get it on the screen. 1 Timothy chapter 6.
Yeah, 6 verse 17.
Okay, verse 6. Chapter 6.
Verse 17.
17, got it here now. Okay, verse 17. This is part of the instructions to the rich.
Yeah.
Command those who are rich in this present age not to be haughty, not to trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God who gives us richly all things to enjoy.
And verse 17...
That was 17.
Oh, was it? Okay, cool. Yeah, of course it was. I was going to go on to 19, but that's okay. Leave it to this for the moment, because this is the point. He's saying, don't trust in uncertain riches. It doesn't say you can't be rich, John. It doesn't say you can't have a lot of money. When we're talking to Australians, if we, a lot of us, we will compare ourselves to the billionaires and say, well, I'm not rich. But if we compare ourselves to the people of many other countries, we're the rich ones, John. We live in a first world country. We have a welfare system. We have a healthcare system. We live in a country where we, have systems in place to look after citizens.
And as some people say, we're in the lucky country.
Exactly. And I think that's true. The land of plenty, it's called that as well. And so the point of this passage here in 1 Timothy 6:17 is that if you are rich, don't be proud about that.
Or boast.
Or boast about it. That's right. You should think, how can I best use my money to bless others?
Yeah.
And I've certainly been blessed by people who are wealthy. Visited their homes, they've given me lifts to places. They've sometimes helped me in different situations. So I'm always grateful to those who have wealth, who know that wealth can do a power of good. But, it's going to be about our relationship with money, and more importantly, John, our relationship with God. Our relationship with God will temper our relationship with money, so that we'll understand that money can be used as a blessing, that we'll understand that it's not to be used for our power or to exploit others.
So it comes down to attitude.
It really does. It really does come down to attitude. There's some great verses on this. Jesus, we're going to look at Matthew 6:19-20. I'll get you to look up that up, John, because this also, you've got it. Yeah, Matthew 6:19-20.
Okay. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. Verse 20. But lay up for themselves or yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal.
This is interesting. Jesus saying, don't have your focus on storing up treasure here.
Yeah.
Because like it or not, John, we only live so long.
That's right.
And then at some point, you got to decide, where am I going next? And Jesus is saying, store up for yourselves treasure in heaven. How do we do that? Then what we do is we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these things will be added to you. It's not that God doesn't care about money. It's not that God doesn't care about, what I'm going to wear and what I'm going to eat and what I'm going to drink and all of those things, my daily provisions. God is saying, trust me with that. And, you put first the kingdom of God and I will take care of the rest.
And not only trust, but have the confidence in that trust.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's another one. I'm going to read this one. This is Matthew 16:26. Mm-hmm. What profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? This is an interesting one. I've visited people, John, who are not far from the end of their life in hospital. And if they've got millions in the bank, they would exchange those millions for more life. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, it doesn't mean anything, yep. And like I said, we all have some money, we all need some money, and it's what we do with that money, and more particularly our relationship to it, that ultimately governs, how successful we be in the spiritual realm. Because God is saying, trust me, trust me, and I think it's going to need to be our attitude at the end of time when there is this financial collapse that is spoken about. In relation to Revelation 13, in relation to Revelation 18, what we've read about in James, when that collapse does occur, we will only have God. We won't be able to rely on finance. We will need to be able to rely on God. We will have to put our trust in him. Mm. And it's great to practice that now.
Why not? Do it right now.
Do it right now because when we do that,
yep.
we start to build that relationship. And that, as you say, have said before, John, the confidence in God grows over time as we get to know him, and as he does things in our lives, we get to know that he can be trusted, and it's very important that we do that.
And I think also by doing that, a lot of people stress over money, wealth, etc. But the more what you're saying there, Peter, and obviously from the Bible, but the more you have that trust in God, the more confidence you have in trust in God.
Absolutely.
Your life becomes a little less stressful.
It does, because you're turning it over.
And you're able to have confidence in dealing with situations that involve wealth and money.
Yeah. Prayer is a wonderful thing, John, where we can give to God our troubles, our cares, our concerns, and we're trusting in the Lord. We're putting his kingdom first, and he will take care of the rest. Luke 12:15 says, Jesus said to them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of the things he possesses. Oh, how true that is, John.
Oh, yeah.
You see the Hard and Green waste outside people's homes, and there's practically a whole garage load out there. We buy it, we stick it in the garage, and then we put it out on the lawn.
Yeah, I know.
It's, we live in a consumer society that's easy to get caught up in.
Yeah.
And this is another reason why we need that spiritual anchor to help us see, actually, do I need this stuff? I don't, buy now, John, buy now. And we're advertised to death, and we don't need most of the stuff we buy.
No.
God helps you get that perspective, I think.
It's not just, you alone, but also your children.
That's right.
And, they are bombarded with all sorts of advertising and whatever.
It's true.
And the demand from your children to you as a parent is quite demanding.
It is. Pest the power.
Yeah.
Pest the power. I've seen it in action.
Me too.
So let's one last verse I think that we really have to touch on, John, and it is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6.
Proverbs 2, 5.
Okay. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It's one of my favourite verses in the Bible, actually. Okay. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, if you'd like to read that.
Yep. 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths.
What a comforting verse that is,
it is,
John.
isn't it?
It's encouraging us to trust. It's saying, don't lean on your own understanding. Don't try and work it out yourself, because God has provided revelation to help us. not just the book of Revelation, I mean the whole of the Bible is a revelation, to help us guide through the minefield that is life on earth. And if we will trust that word, we'll trust God, leaning not on our own understanding, and we'll acknowledge him, he will direct us. And we're going to need that in the end.
And you've got to be serious about your faith.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. Because, we take out insurance on cars and houses and things because just in case they might burn down or crash the car or whatever. We have health insurance just in case we get sick and what have you. We know that we live in a dangerous world, an uncertain world. We've talked about the uncertainties in the market and all of that. There are 2 verses in the Bible that I like to be reminded of. One was from Daniel 2. At the end of Daniel 2, Daniel talks about that the prophecy and the fact that God's kingdom is going to come. He says the dream is certain. Yeah. Its interpretation is sure. And given that was given 2,600 years ago, John, and we're right here and we can see all that history, that's a wonderful thing. And then the last one is in Luke 1:4, where I'm just going to, I might get you to read this if you want to pull it up,
sure.
John. It's Luke 1, verse 4.
Verse 4.
And just to give context, Luke is saying this is why I'm telling you these things.
Luke 1, verse 4, that you may know the certainty, that's the key word, certainty of those things in which you were instructed.
We live in a world, John, people might be concerned about their financial future or whatever, or just where is the world headed? The Bible says we have a certain future. God's kingdom will come in the end. Jesus will come to rescue his people. We have to put our faith and trust in him. And as we do that, whatever the economic or other pressures that come, we can trust Jesus, follow him, and have certainty of knowing he'll make things all good in the end.
You've been listening to A Light in the Dark on Faith FM with John Weeks. I'm John Weeks and Peter Watts, and we'll be back next week on the same program, same time at 11 o'clock Melbourne time. And if you want to send us a text message, the text line is 0488 880 831. Love to get your text message. If you've got a question, we'll get back to you. Have a good day. Bye.